Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. Now, are you going to be getting Sentinel? Are you going to be getting Nimrod? Or Omega Sentinel? There's a lot of characters here, and there's a lot of characters we now need to power core for if you want to unlock them quicker than the 30 to 45 days plus, if you guys have been following along the news in Marvel Strike Force and what the expectation is for character unlocks going forward. Now, this is going to be quite difficult, right? Because now power cores are more meaningful than ever before. What you decide to do with your power cores is going to make or break the game, honestly, whether it's for character unlocks or whether it's for using them in events or other things, right? Supply store refreshes, Dark Dimension, however you use your cores, but that means that they are the gold standard more than ever before in terms of your resources and being able to do things. And so in this video, we're going to be breaking the math down on power cores. We're going to be taking a look at this on a 30-day scale, and we're going to be talking about how realistic it is or not to be able to continue to power core for characters, and maybe some additional strategies that you can also employ using these numbers to decide, maybe I can get one character a month, maybe I can get two characters a month, maybe I can core, half the shards for the characters, and that'll still shave some time down, right? And those are all the things that I want to talk about. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Okay, so I got this big spreadsheet, but we are going to just go through this one part at a time. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is where you get your power cores from. How much are you getting? A lot of this is going to depend on now, what your ranking is in Arena, but I want to talk about the other ways that you do get cores. So there is a monthly calendar. This is right now, I guess, would be the September calendar. And this varies from month to month a little bit. Like, I think this month is like 500, but like it was like 475 before, and so I put it at 500. Like it might not always be 500, but it's a pretty middle average, I would say, in terms of what to expect from there. You also get 200 power cores now, or sorry, 100 power cores per strike pass, or we're calculating things over 30 days, so roughly this is 200 for 28 days, right? And then the daily objectives actually add up quite a bit. You get 10 from your campaigns, you get 10 from challenges, 5 from Blitz, 25 from your complete all. So all of this is like 50. And then you get 25 daily or 50 over 2 days from your energy milestone. Now, if you're hoarding energy for events, you're going to miss out on this, which over the long term, it might be a decent amount. Like if you do 25 times 30, that's 750 cores if you're someone who is a serial hoarder for events. And this is something that you will not have, but I'm just assuming that people are doing this. And the 1.1 million gold spend is 50 power cores daily as well. So if you add up all of this and you multiply by 30, you get 3,750 cores. This is going to be for the subtotal later on. And then 700 on this side here from the calendars and the strike pass as well. So you add that together. It's a decent amount, in terms of, your ability to do events or your ability to spend on power core orbs. And so I want to kind of go into the arena section here too. We're going to be looking at basically anything from top 250 and lower, and by lower I mean better in this case. So if you're worse than 250, sucks, I guess. Try to, I think I think if you're an active player, like my alt account is like in the top 50. So I think that it's reasonable if you are an active player, even as a new player, to eventually get up that way. I think it's entirely possible. So your power core income for these rankings are as follows. Top 10, you get 500, all the way down to 250 is 200 a day. So, you can see the sliding scale here. And then over 30 days, you can see what that really amounts to. And with the objectives, when you add it in, which is this stuff, these two boxes here, and you add them in, you're getting about anywhere from 19,500 cores in the top 10 to about 10,500 in the top 250. So that difference is a fair bit, right? That 9,000 power core difference is a fair bit. And then I also wanted to include some event coring. Now, this is going to vary wildly, right? But I normally, when I do my event videos and things like that, I do it right now still at the 200 power cores daily. So what I've kind of made an assumption for is, let's say that you might 200 core daily for 14 days in a month. Because usually people will core more on leaderboards, and not every event has an energy leaderboard. So I had to make some sort of assumption here that at least half of the month, right, we have some sort of power core energy event. And so that's what I've done there, which amounts to about 2,800 power cores per month, doing it that way at 200 cores. Now, if you're someone who power cores into the 400 daily category, that's your decision to do so, right? Like that's normally not necessary to complete these events. And so I'm not going to put that on everyone. But let's take that 2,800 and then I subtracted it here from the sort of the total, your total power cores, right? And that's what this is here. So 16.6 thousand, basically, if you're in the top 10, all the way down to 7,650 on the top 250. Now, why is this important? Because this is basically what's left over for you to be able to use your power cores for characters. Because that's kind of the new era that we're in right now, is deciding how much of these power cores am I going to be spending on character orbs. Now, to go back to my account, my main account is not looking too good as of recording this video, right? I'm at less than 1,000, and I think Nimrod is going to be next week. And I don't think that I will have some to put onto Nimrod, but I'm going to need to get lucky, I think. And I did this knowingly, because if you caught my video on should you core Sentinel, I did say that yes, I believe the trajectory of unlocking is actually the release order. So Sentinel, Nimrod, Omega Sentinel in terms of importance. I feel that Nimrod doesn't function fully, in my opinion, without having Sentinel, because you need the summoned minions. That's just my thoughts, though. And so I decided to go ahead and spend my power cores to unlock Sentinel. I spent about 90 something shards. I think I bridged the gap on some of these crappy orbs that were here for Sentinel this week on Tolerance's Extinction, but I still spent a good chunk of cores, probably around 6,000, 7,000. I think I got, actually, I got a 40 pull, so I think I did get a little bit lucky, but, not everyone's going to do that. However, not everyone's going to get that. But over time, if you pull enough orbs, I think eventually you will probably get lucky, unless you're the worst person, or you're the worst luck person in the world, which is highly possible, and we'll talk about those outcomes too. So this is going to bring us to my new character scenario here. So let's say, right, we're going to get 3 characters per month. That's every 7 to 10 days. I think that seems to be the direction that we're headed right now. So let's just say that three characters a month is probably what we're going to end up getting. Each new character is 100 shards. I think gone is the days of the 2-star unlock. I think that we're no longer getting those 45 shard characters. Who knows? Maybe they'll come back. But I feel like right now they're kind of monetizing this 3-star 100 shard unlock. So the question is, do you go for full unlocks or do you do half unlocks? Obviously, with the full unlock, you're going to get the character right away. You're going to be able to start building them. You can do whatever you can start using them. And then with half unlocks, the idea, I guess, is that, combined with their phase 1 or whatever they're doing in terms of the slow drip, that it should shave off a couple of weeks towards the character. So, it really comes down to, do you want to do full unlocks for some characters, but not all of them? Or do you want to do half unlocks for all of them and not unlock any right away? And so I have 3 different scenarios that we're going to cover here. Scenario 1 is 100 shards per character. This is full unlocks. And so you would need 300 shards to pull on core orbs per month. This is not realistic for the vast majority of players. So I'm not going to focus on that too much. The TLDR is that's probably not going to happen for most players unless you skip on event coring, I think, at that point. Scenario 2 is a bit more realistic. This is 50 shards per character, aka the half unlocks, and you need 150 shards total, for the month, essentially, that you need to pull. And as I said, the idea is that the team orbs or whatever would help bridge the gap at some point, so you don't need to spend as many power cores to do this. Scenario 3 is 2 full character unlocks, aka 200 shards needed, and you would skip 1 character a month. And the reason for this is I posited or speculated that I don't think Omega Sentinel, while with the buffs that she is pretty good, I don't know if she's going to be 100% necessary for the current stuff. You could probably wait to get her unlocked. I feel personally that Sentinel and Nimrod are more important than Omega Sentinel. And given the fact that the next team, which is the Night Stalkers, is also going to be a raid team, I'm not going to be in a hurry to unlock Omega Sentinel, because I'm going to need cores for the next raid team, which is going to be, I guess, Karen and Man-Thing, right? Because Blade is likely going to be a legendary character, so you don't need to core for that. But for the other 2, I will, right? So I'll need to make that decision later on. But I want to have power cores available that, if there's a character I need to core for, I want to core for, that I can do that. And so this is the idea for me as scenario 3, is that I'm going to need to skip a character here and there, right, in order to maintain my power cores. So we'll talk about that. EV of a core orb is 9.39. I know people hate EVs, or estimated values or expected values of a core orb. So this is not good in a single pull, right? Like you're gonna get probably a 6 or an 8. That's typically what comes out of these orbs. But because of the chance to get the higher numbers, and I pulled, 10, 12 core orbs before, and that's above average, right? And that's gonna save you some cores in the long term. But by and large, this is only worth it if you're kind of talking in a grander scheme. If you're talking like a large amount of openings, like a larger sample size, but in a single orb, EVs typically are not that useful. But because of what we're doing, and we're talking about over a 30-day scale, we're talking about more long term, I think there is still value in talking about it in this way. That being said, the maximum amount of cores required for a single character, let's just say you get like 6 every single pull, is 11,475 cores. Now, this could happen. This is 17 power core orbs, because 6 times 17 is, I'm pretty sure this 6 times 17 is 102. So, it is hypothetical that you could do this, and you could have the worst luck in the world and you get 6 for 17 orbs. This usually doesn't happen. It's been a long time since I've spent that many cores on a character, but it can happen, right? So in terms of the ranges on the crappy side and the good side, the crappy side could have to pull 17 core orbs. But again, the EVs are more appropriate over a larger sample size, which is what we're talking about here. So I want to talk about scenario one. And so given that we want 300 shards, that's scenario one, right? The total orbs required for this would be about 32 rounding up. So times it by 675, but also using the expected value of the orb, you would need 21,600 power cores to essentially unlock all 3 characters on average. Now, this is not, again, not if you have bad luck, it's going to be more. If you have good luck, it's going to be less, right? But on average. And none of these arena scenarios, even with not even event coring, hits that number, right? So it's unrealistic. Where maybe this could happen is if you're a serial strike pass buyer, right? Because that gives you I think it gives you 1,000 power cores per strike pass. So if you don't core on events and you buy both strike passes, you could feasibly maybe core all 3 characters if your luck is decent, and that's the takeaway from that. But it's not realistic. Okay, what is more realistic though is scenario 2 and 3. So 2 is the half unlocks, right? Going for half unlocks are about 50 shards per character for the entire month. And this could be less or more, right? Because with Blade coming out, if he's a legendary character, this could give you more time to recoup power cores as well. There are potential points in time that you could not have to spend power cores because the characters, I guess, are not core orbable. So therefore, there's a period or a gap where you can save more power cores. So that's always a possibility too. So let's not discount that as well. But scenario 2, at 50 shards per character, or 150 shards we need, would be about 16 orbs that you need to pull. And that's about 10,800 power cores. And this is where it starts to get a little bit more reasonable, right? Because if you look at any of these columns over here, with the exception of maybe top 250, it looks a bit more reasonable when you're top 100 or above. And even with some event coring, like, you could get that. And that is a very possible scenario that you're able to do if that's what you want to do. It varies for me because I'd rather just have the character than have them sitting at 50 shards, but that's just me. So I'm more of a scenario 3 type of person who, like, I'd rather just have the character unlocked than have to get that slow drip and still wait for yeah, in scenario 2 you'll shave off like 2 or 3 weeks for each of the unlocks, I think. But I'd just rather have like 1 or 2 of them as a full unlock, so I'm not sitting around waiting. That's just how I play the game though. And so I'm more of a scenario 3 type of person, which is 21 orbs required, rounding down. And again, just to recap, this is 2 full character unlocks and basically skipping another character. And the total cores required for this is more, but it's about 14,000, give or take, on average. And so I'm personally someone that's in the top 10, right? So I should, unless I have terrible luck, which is also possible, that I should be able to accomplish this on a monthly basis. Even if I were to do 200 coring or a reasonable amount of 200 coring during event times, I would still be able to do this. Now, I don't expect everyone to be in that situation, right? Not everyone is top 10 in arena. Not everyone's top 50 in arena. And so you might not be able to do this. And I think for the majority of people, they're going to be landing either in the scenario 2 or the scenario 3 bracket, where yes, you either are going to be doing half unlocks for characters, or you could do a scenario 4, right? Which is just 1 character a month, if that's what you want to do. Depending on how you utilize your power cores, that's a decision that you need to make. But I do want to let people know that the math over the long term, not over the short term, but over the long term, would suggest that you would either be able to do half unlocks for characters or you could pick and choose characters to fully unlock, and that would still be available to you. However, and this is like the big star here, is that obviously it depends on how much you typically core for events and leaderboards. Is there enough for both? Not really. And so you kind of need to make the we're in this position now for free to play that you need to make this decision what's important to you. Performing really well on the leaderboard and spending 400 cores daily or whatever what have you to get ahead, then that's something that you need to consider. If you're coring on off days to hoard energy for the next leaderboard, then that's cores that you're not going to have for characters, right? So all of these things that you do in the game, whether it's coring for energy, coring for whatever, supply store, dark dimension, all this stuff is going to take away from this tally, this basically this subtotal of what you're going to have available for characters. And we're all going to have to make that conscious decision about how we use our power cores. But the reason for this video is I wanted to lay out what is possible, I think, for character unlocks, because this is going to be an important way. Unfortunately, the way that this game has turned into essentially a full-blown gacha, but like a worse version of a gacha, because I feel like in a team-based game, you can't just unlock one character and like have a field day. You kind of like you need most of the team, right? You know, so that's the unfortunate difference between this game and other gacha games. Some takeaway though that I want to talk about here, just the TLDR findings. None, as I said, none of this takes into account the amount of power cores that you're spending on energy events or anything like that. It's entirely on core income and spending them on core orbs. It is possible that somebody could have really bad luck and the average amount of cores required does not happen for some people. Just because I said this using the EV up here does not mean that everyone is going to get that. That's just the average. You could be really lucky or you could have really shit luck, like we said in the beginning, in terms of what the maximum would have been, which is 11,475 for a single character, right? You know, that is entirely possible as well. Well, there will always be outliers. I just talked about that, so that's why I'm gonna skip that. And there's an element of luck, honestly, in this as well. And that's the unfortunate part about gacha, I suppose, you know, in things with, you know, not guaranteed drop rates. However, over the long term, if one of these scenario strategies are employed, then it's likely that things would balance out eventually. And I do believe that, you know, so eventually you are going to get some good luck and you might get some really good luck. And that might save you a lot of power cores on that particular character. And that's going to be entirely up to you on how you decide to use your power cores. I just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of power in terms of, you know, knowing what the expectation is on a monthly basis. So I'm going to post this in my Discord server as well later on, at least the power core charts and all that. And just so you guys can use that as a reference in terms of where you're at in arena, you know, if you're doing all your daily objectives and what your monthly power cores kind of look like and what you can kind of expect to do with it. So for me, I'm going to do like 1.5, 2 characters a month. That's kind of like realistically what I'm going to be doing with my power cores, because I'm going to be able to identify those characters that I believe are skippable or less important. And that's why I think it'll be really important for you to keep up with my channel as I do the Should You Core series. I'm going to be doing this for every single character, and I'm going to give my opinions and thoughts for each character as they come out, you know, to kind of, are they worth coring or not? Or is that something that you could potentially skip and save your power cores for the next character? So more of that in the future as well. If you like this video, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. And let me know in the comments down below if you feel there's something I missed or something I should talk about in a future video. So that's it for now, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.